$39 billion for months and months and months. And the President of the United States has said nothing. Speaker of the House said he's not interested in helping the American people that were devastating, lives torn asunder here in Los Angeles. I mean, where is the accountability in that respect?
Señores, lo que hizo el día de hoy Gavin Newsom fue una clase maestra, porque literalmente dio una mezcla entre masacre política y una lección de liderazgo. Pues el gobernador de California dio una conferencia de prensa enorme en Los Ángeles, una que en teoría era para hablar de algo bastante cotidiano, que es mejorar la alimentación en las escuelas públicas del distrito. Pero bueno, lo que comenzó como algo simple terminó como algo mucho más grande. Porque claro, Newsom aprovechó ese escenario para destrozar públicamente a Donald Trump, al Partido Republicano y a toda la maquinaria MAGA, sin dejar espacio a interpretaciones. Lo más interesante, lo hizo con datos, con claridad, con autoridad, que sinceramente, amigos, hoy por hoy, pocos líderes en el Partido Demócrata se atreven a mostrar. Bueno, durante esta conferencia, Gavin Newsom empezó a desmontar las mentiras de los republicanos sobre el cierre del gobierno, dejando muy claro quiénes son los verdaderos responsables de este desastre. Esto, gente, es como se hace política de verdad. Escuchen.
I don't think it needs any deeper explanation. They are lying. They made it up. And it just shows how, I mean, not only sort of desperate and pathetic to knowingly lie to the American people, particularly people in positions of power and influence, the Speaker himself, not just the President of the United States, though that's just, you know, every minute of every hour of every day. But it also shows how wrong they are and the overwhelming now bipartisan opposition to these massive increases in healthcare costs that are going into effect in January. And by the way, I mentioned 600,000 people in the state of California. We think that is a conservative number. We actually ran 3 different surveys on this to come up with that number. We put that out, published that a number of months ago. It's over 4 million people that they conservatively estimate nationwide. We were looking just at the Anthem Bronze Plan. This is something familiar with people on the California exchange, the Bronze Plan. Right now, if you're on the Bronze Plan, it's about $307. It's going to go up to $964. $307 a month to $964. We're talking about 100% increase across the board in the aggregate, but some people are living with triple-digit increases. I mean, this is jaw-dropping, and people are finally starting to understand that. That's why they're desperate to paint a different picture. But again, they're lying.
Luego Newsom fue mucho más duro. Acusó directamente a Trump y a los republicanos MAGA de bloquear miles de millones de dólares en ayuda federal para California. Y aún más especial, que es para enfrentar los incendios forestales que destruyen comunidades enteras cada año prácticamente. Es más, dijo algo que me parece clave. Cuando hay una tragedia en un estado republicano, como por ejemplo Luisiana, él como gobernador y como contribuyente no duda ni un segundo en ayudar. Porque eso, amigos, es lo que hace pues un país unido, supuestamente, ¿no? Pero bueno, cuando los desastres ocurren en California, Donald Trump y su gente lo que hacen es castigar al estado solo porque es azul. Y eso, pues bueno, Newsom lo dijo, ¿no? Es sencillamente miserable. Escuchen.
I hope it gives some closure as it relates to some of the anxiety that may have been felt. How did this happen? Who's responsible? Can this happen again? What lessons we learned? So at least from that perspective, a little bit of closure. That said, it's cold comfort for those who lost their homes and are coming through the recovery. What I do say is that we need to really now, I think, call out why the President of the United States and Congress has refused to provide support to those that have been victimized by this arsonist. and this devastation. $39 billion for months and months and months. And the President of the United States has said nothing. Speaker of the House said he's not interested in helping the American people that were devastated, lives torn asunder here in Los Angeles. I mean, where is the accountability in that respect? Where's the spirit that defines the best of this country? To be here for fellow Americans in the time of recovery, uncertainty. It's been months, not a peep from the President of the United States, not a word from Speaker Johnson. I was proud as a taxpayer, as an American, to have Speaker Johnson's back when his district in his state was devastated by floods. I said the same thing to Greg Abbott as we sent him personnel and support because he needed it with the devastation of the flood. But I'm proud that our tax dollars, disproportionately California's tax dollars, will be used to help support the recovery in Texas. That's what makes America great. Not a word from the Republican Party, not a word from Speaker Johnson, not a word from the President of the United States. I applaud the work that initiated under the Biden administration in this investigation and the work that this administration did as it relates to finding this person and ultimately pushing these charges and making these charges. But I find it shameful that they haven't done a damn thing for the thousands of people who lost their homes and whose lives were devastated from this disaster. Not a word from the President of the United States.
Luego el gobernador cambió un poco el tema para poder hablar de lo que realmente significa ser América saludable, ¿no? Pero claro, sin el humo ni las conspiraciones como las de Robert F. Kennedy Jr. o de Donald Trump. Explicó que en California ya se están implementando medidas reales, concretas, las cuales van a mejorar la salud pública. Nada de discursos vacíos, solo resultados. Escuchen lo que explica.
One of the things that's unfortunate about what's happening across this country is while they're asserting one thing in terms of making America healthy again, they're doing something radical on the other side of that. The most significant cutbacks, the most consequential rollbacks of health care coverage in American history, with premiums that are about to double, 97% on average, for Californians. We expect 600,000 Californians to lose their health coverage, in January, 600,000 that can no longer afford health coverage, if the big beautiful bill and its impacts on Obamacare and the elimination of these subsidies go away. And so you can't do one without the other. And I think what makes me most proud of what the Assembly members are doing and what our Secretary has done is that we have a comprehensive strategy to healthcare. And then, by the way, includes the environment, which is a huge part of the air we breathe, the water we drink. So it's just not good enough to make a case against ultra-processed foods unless you're making a case for a healthcare delivery system and preventative care and making a case for integrating these values and these principles. So I think California is a model. We're hardly perfect. No one's naive. There are tremendous challenges, but this is a big part of our effort. And final point on this, and before we open up to questions. We opened shortly after we became the first state in the U.S. to provide universal health care, regardless of pre-existing conditions, ability to pay, and your status. We also opened an office of healthcare affordability. It's not gotten the kind of attention I think it deserves. It's actually created some numeric targets to reduce healthcare costs. It's also a component part of CalRx and the work we're doing to start providing our own drugs like insulin. We're going to, by the way, make a big announcement on that next week. A little bit of a preview in that space. We've done it for naloxone. We're looking at the diaper space, et cetera, to lower the cost, not subsidize cost, but to actually lower the cost of production, and cost to the taxpayers in the state. But the Office of Healthcare Affordability has a numeric target as well for healthy foods. And I don't think there's anything comparable anywhere in the country that we are truly focusing on health care, not sick care. We're truly focused on a preventative care model. And a big part of that is the Healthy Foods initiatives. And a big part of that is the work that is going to be entrusted over the course of the next few years at the Department of Public Health to identify what are currently thousands and thousands and thousands of these additives that, by the way, do not exist in the European Union and many other parts of the globe that somehow we've allowed to exist and persist here through neglect. And California will be leading the nation. FDA will do their part. I don't have confidence ultimately where that goes, but I do have confidence where these folks go over the course of the next few years. So I just want to add that to broaden, I hope, the appeal and the comprehensive nature of what we're advancing and announcing here today.
Más adelante le hicieron una pregunta un poco complicada sobre lo que es la responsabilidad legal del Estado por los incendios, ¿no? Y me pareció impresionante ver cómo es que manejó la situación. Sin drama, sin buscar culpables políticos, ¿no? Sin manipular un poco el tema, que eso es lo que realmente muchos hacen. Y bueno, respondió con calma y dijo que el Estado está investigando todo de forma independiente. O sea, que van a seguir los datos y que si hay que asumir responsabilidades, se va a hacer. Pero con hechos, no con discursos. Y así, amigos, es como tiene que responder un líder serio. Nada de vueltas. Escuchen esto.
Well, I think they found the arsonist, and we'll look at the investigation and what backed up this indictment, and then we'll look at the facts and judge on the basis of those facts. And there's when it comes to the issue of fire liability, I know a thing or two, going back to Paradise and the process that unfolds there and how this is done without political interference and how the facts need to be pursued without any bias or political interference. And I just want to know the facts, period. And ultimately then we'll judge culpability. Those facts are not only being assessed as it relates to this indictment by the federal government of this alleged arsonist, but obviously those facts are currently being reviewed as it relates to the fire in Altadena as well. And so I just want to leave it at that until we get all those details.
Y bueno, seguido de eso es cuando Newsom hizo ese anuncio importante que pues va dedicado a lo que era esta conferencia, que California se convierte en el primer estado en definir los ultraprocesados y eliminarlos de los menús escolares. Y es que tenemos que hacer la comparativa, señores, porque mientras en Washington los políticos se la pasan hablando de hacer América saludable otra vez, por el tema pues de Robert F. Kennedy Jr., bueno, en California ya lo están haciendo. Y claro, Newsom no se quedó callado porque en sus redes sociales ya empezó también a destrozar a Trump, a los republicanos con precisión quirúrgica, señores. Y bueno, algo que también muchos demócratas no lo están haciendo con un toque de humor. Por ejemplo, publicó una burla dirigida a Pete Hegseth, el ex conductor de Fox News, y el nuevo secretario de guerra. Y bueno, Newsom escribió lo siguiente: encontramos la zona de guerra en Portland, Pete. Ven aquí. Y bueno, vean el clip.
But Portland is unbelievable what's going on in Portland. The destruction of the city. Well, I'm going to look at it now because I didn't know that was still going on. This has been going on for years.
Luego publicó otro video, lógico, sarcástico, ¿no? Con el texto: Portland está devastada por la guerra. Envíen a la Guardia Nacional de California. Y bueno, el contraste, ¿no? Es que es algo brutal porque muestra imágenes normales en Portland. Y luego lo compara con los ridículos shows de prensa que hacen los trumpistas. Por ejemplo, vean esta comparación.
President Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all. The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terror.
Pero lo mejor, amigos, vino después porque Newsom reaccionó a una conferencia de prensa de Donald Trump, donde un influencer de derecha le preguntó si es que pensaba suspender el habeas corpus. Y bueno, Trump, perdido como siempre, responde: ¿suspender a quién? Bueno, solo quiero que noten la diferencia, ¿no? Entre un gobernador coherente, alguien preparado, articulado y bueno, esto. Veamos lo que provocó esta reacción.
Also have two questions for you, if I may. Have you given any more thought to possibly suspending habeas corpus to not only deal with these insurrectionists across the nation, but also to continue rapidly deporting illegal aliens?
Yeah, is suspending who?
Habeas corpus. So.
Oh, I don't know. I'd rather leave that to Christie. What do you think?
No, sir, I haven't been a part of any discussions.
Así que sí, señores, Newsom no solo dio una conferencia matutina, dio una lección de cómo es que se enfrenta a un régimen autoritario sin miedo, sin titubear y con algo que el trumpismo jamás va a poder imitar: la dignidad y la coherencia. Ahora bien, amigos, hablando un poco del régimen autoritario. Así es, señores. Acaba de pasar lo que muchos ya sospechábamos. La vendetta continúa. El Departamento de Justicia, bajo el control del trumpismo, ha acusado formalmente a la fiscal general de Nueva York, Letitia James. Así es, señores, la misma que lo demandó a Trump por fraude y consiguió esa sentencia millonaria, ¿no?, que en aquel momento lo dejó temblando, acaba de ser acusada. Donald Trump acaba de cruzar una línea que creo que ni siquiera Richard Nixon se atrevió a tocar. Ahora bien, amigos, mágicamente, ¿no?, Letitia James aparece acusada por el Departamento de Justicia. Obviamente, imagino que todos entienden que esto no es una casualidad, ¿no? Esto no es justicia, señores. Esto es venganza política pura y dura. Quiero que escuchemos esta noticia, señores, y luego lo vamos a analizar para entender qué es lo que está sucediendo.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. New York Attorney General Letitia James has been indicted. Andrew Weissman, your reaction?
I think that I want to sort of address the people who might look at this and say this is sort of tit for tat, that you see that in the Democratic administration, you see them going after Republicans, and this is Republicans going after Democrats. This is where, one, even if two wrongs don't make a right, even if that were true, but this is where facts matter. In the Letitia James case that she brought in New York, there was a trial. Facts were adduced. We all could look at those facts, and Donald Trump had a chance, an opportunity to have due process and to hear all of that. Here, the process by which this has been undertaken, like the process that was undertaken with respect to James Comey, tells you that career people and even Trump-appointed people did not think that there was evidence. There were not facts that justified this. And I think a perfect symbol of the fact that this is different, that what we're seeing is different. It is not normal. It is not everyone does it, is to take a look at Abby Lowell. Abby Lowell is the defense lawyer for Letitia James. He was also the defense lawyer for Hunter Biden. In the Biden administration, the Department of Justice actually charged and convicted the sitting president's son. And Abby Lowell represented him and defended him and lost at trial.
Yeah.
And he is now defending Letitia James. And to me, when people say it's tit for tat, it's like, no, in prior administrations, and by the way, Republican and Democratic administrations under normal times, which I agree with Mark are gone, under normal times in those administrations, there is no politics that is supposed to be considered. I'm not saying it's never considered, and there aren't. There's aberrations. No, that's not how you're built.
Right. Andrew, let me bring Carol Leonnig back in. Carol Leonnig broke the news today exclusively that a grand jury was hearing evidence against Tish James. We have now heard the news that New York Attorney General Letitia James has been indicted. Carol Leonnig.
Yeah, a few minutes ago we confirmed that She was indicted by a grand jury in Alexandria of at least one count of bank fraud, Nicole, and the return was rather speedy. 4 o'clock was when the grand jury was supposed to come back out and present their information to Halligan. There was a four-person in the courtroom along with Halligan, and they released their decision. I will tell you there's one other really interesting element to this that I'm hearing from sources, which is that this grand jury made its decision and listened to the presentation on its very first day in the box. In other words, grand juries sit sometimes for weeks and weeks. This grand jury was impaneled today, and this was their first case and their first decision.
Carol, any reaction from any of the resigned or fired U.S. attorneys in the Virginia offices that had looked at these cases and been pressured before Lindsay Halligan's appointment to bring them and refused?
Well, in the 10 minutes since I was last with you and the 10 minutes before we were reporting, I have not spoken with some of those folks, but I can tell you from previous conversations that they were bracing for this. Letitia James herself, I understand from sources, was fully expecting that she would be indicted. Again, keeping in mind that the standard for indicting someone is the probability that there may be a crime that was committed. And it's a very low standard, but she was expecting this and bracing for it herself. Prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia, some of them driven out by their decision not to bring this case, some of them resigning in disgust about other cases that Donald Trump is pressing and insisting upon. He wants to get to all the hits in his enemies list. Those people have been really tortured about all of this, because for them, not only is this not a righteous case, not only is this not a justified case, but for them, it does not even meet the bare minimum for the evidence that has to be presented at trial to sustain a conviction.
Carol, just talk a little bit about the legacy of this office. This is an office that, other than SDNY, I believe, brings the bulk of terrorism and national security cases. It has regardless of whether the person who's president is a Democratic politician or Republican politician, this office is pretty storied. It is now forever tainted as the office that Trump's handpicked.
Ok, señores. Esta es la evidencia de que Trump está utilizando el poder del Estado como su arma personal. La acusación contra Letitia James viene de un gran jurado que, según los propios periodistas, fue convocado el mismo día de hoy y tomó una decisión en cuestión de horas. Lo más grave de todo, se vio como varios fiscales que trabajaban en esa oficina del gran jurado renunciaron, porque claro, no querían ser parte de lo que describen como una persecución política ordenada por Trump. Incluso sus propios aliados dentro del Departamento de Justicia están incómodos con esto. ¿Qué es lo que está buscando Donald Trump con todo este caos? Él no necesita ganar el caso. Eso tienen que entender. Solo necesita que los titulares digan Letitia James acusada. Esa palabra, acusada, esa es su arma. Sembrar la duda, manchar reputaciones, quiere reescribir la historia para que él parezca que es la víctima de una conspiración. Es más, para muchos yo creo que imagino, deben estar pensando ojo por ojo. Recordemos, ella lo investigó y ahora él responde igual. Pero la comparación, amigos, es totalmente falsa, es incoherente, porque Letitia James lo demandó con pruebas documentadas, con testimonios, con una sentencia judicial que fue firme, fue larga. Claro, en cambio Trump lo único que hizo fue despertar, mover el aparato del gobierno, castigar a quien lo expuso. Represalia política. Y si alguien piensa, bueno, quizás ella sí cometió algo, no. Amigos, hay que recordar que Trump ya intentó presionar antes a fiscales federales para que la acusen y todos se negaron. Porque claro, no hay evidencia sólida. Y ahora de repente se aparece. Lo único que cambió fue que ahora pues el Departamento de Justicia sí quiso responder a Trump. Así de simple. Estamos viendo cómo Trump está transformando el gobierno en su herramienta de venganza, su vendetta. Cuando un presidente empieza a utilizar a fiscales, a jueces, para destruir a sus enemigos políticos, a sus rivales. Esto, señores, no es una investigación legítima. Esto es como una demostración de poder. Un mensaje directo a los que lo desafían. Voy por ti. Así de simple, señores. Pero bueno, ahora quiero saber qué opinan ustedes. ¿Creen que esta acusación contra Letitia James tiene algún tipo de fundamento real? ¿Ya les quedó claro que el Departamento de Justicia está siendo utilizado por Trump como un arma contra sus enemigos? Los invito a que me dejen sus opiniones en la caja de comentarios. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme el día de hoy. Recuerde, como siempre, dale like, comparte el contenido y suscríbete a mi canal. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.